Hey guys, TGKS Productions. So I have a Red Dead Online video for you today, and I want to talk about a potential future DLC. So what you're seeing here up on the screen is actually a clip from the tutorial of Red Dead Online. It's towards the end of the tutorial, basically this one mission that you do for Clay Davies, one of the Davies brothers, Clay and Clive Davies, that you actually meet in the story mode of Red Dead Online, or of Red Dead Redemption 2, the story, if you played that. You meet these characters in the story mode, and they run this operation in story mode, and you get a little bit of a taste of it in this mission in the tutorial of Red Dead Online. However, there is a reference to at the end of this mission that suggests that the sort of the full operation that they run will be added or potentially added into Red Dead Online in the future. Now, just to give a little bit of background on the Davies brothers, as I stated, you do meet them in the Red Dead Redemption 2 story, and they play a fairly minor role in the story. They're not really big characters, but that is where you meet them, and they do run a operation in story mode, actually sort of a fence for stolen horses in story mode. And I'm going to go and give a little bit of background on them, so if you want to skip a little bit ahead to, if you don't want to hear what I'm about to say, I'm not going to go into too much depth, but minor spoiler alert, I guess you could say, because I'm just going to sort of talk about how they get introduced into the story. But essentially, the Red Dead Redemption 2 story is pretty much the story of, Dutch Vanderling and his gang and them being on the run. Pretty much as soon as you enter the story, they're on the run. They actually just escaped from, I believe, a bank job gone wrong from Blackwater. And they're pretty much, for the majority of the story, they're on the run as this, outlaw gang. And during the course, at one point in the story, they come across these two families, the Braithwaite family and the Grays family, which actually sort of is almost like a reference to the Romeo and Juliet type of situation, to give a little bit of more insight on that with the sort of the rivals. It was like the Montagues and the Capulets, two families there. It's similar to that situation, but essentially Dutch in the game, they had a plan to sort of rip these two gangs off in the long run, but they were sort of playing both sides of the fence to, I guess get on each family's good side in a sense. And their plan was to eventually rip them off in the long run, but at one point the Grays wants the Dutch and some of his gang to steal some horses from the Braithwaites, and basically the Grays tell Dutch and the gang to take the horses to the Davies brothers, and pretty much from that point you unlock in story mode this, as I stated, a fence for stolen horses, and after that you can actually deliver stolen and I believe even bought horses to the Davies brothers, and they will pay you a certain amount for those horses, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. But that is essentially how they are introduced into the story. And I believe there's even one or two other missions that take place with them after that, but overall they are very minor characters. But as I stated, there is a potential reference, or really there is a reference that suggests that this operation will be brought into online. Their operation of sort of this, fence for stolen horses. So I'm going to show you that clip here. You may have seen this before. I know this was a topic talked about when Red Dead Online was first released. I feel like a lot of players have definitely forgot about this. I personally forgot about this. Actually, what brought me back to this and reminded me of this potential update was when I was creating my video a couple weeks ago on the top 5 tips for beginners in Red Dead Online. I was going back through the tutorial, and I came across that clip with that dialogue with the Davies brothers, or really specifically Clay Davies, as I'm going to show you, that suggests this future DLC for Red Dead Online. So I'm going to let you guys check this out, and we'll discuss it after that.
Well, Horley was right about you, dead right. Ain't that dandy? Get that horse hidden away, Clive, and ready to move out as soon as we can. All right. Here's the money you earned. Now listen, Horley came by and gave me a message. He said to go see your friend Cripps up at your camp. Now listen to me for a second. Any other decent horses you find, we'll buy them, just as soon as we are set up, okay? Nice meeting you. You know what? Hold on, boy. I call him boy because I'm older. 30 minutes, he went black. Let's give our friend here back the horse. It's yours. A sign of faith and future business. If you want to buy any extras or sundries for the animal, head inside. They've got a lot available. Soon. Come on, Clive.
So that's definitely very interesting there. Some key words with that dialogue is he says if you find, or Clay says if you find any more horses, find horses like these ones, make sure bring them to us as soon as we're set up, suggesting, sort of a type of business. And he even states, even after that, when he gives you the horse, a sign of good faith for future business. He specifically says, and even says, see you soon at the very end. So given all that, this definitely suggests a potential future DLC in Red Dead Online that would involve probably likely some sort of business similar to, or operations similar to story mode, or the operation they have in story mode in online involving the Davies brothers. I went back in story mode just to remind myself of how the business that the Davies brothers ran sort of worked. And you'll see here I have a stolen horse, and I'm able to sell it to the Clay Davies here, the Davies brothers, for, you saw there, $4.80. And you're going to see up next, I sell another one pretty much back to back. So I don't believe there is a timer on, the amount of horses you can sell in story mode to the Davies brothers. So given that, like I said, I was able to sell back to back. I think I sold the other one for $2. You're going to see here coming up next. Again, no timer. But that is essentially how, you can sort of run or deliver horses to this horse fence to the Davies brothers in the story mode. Now, another thing I want to mention from story mode that could potentially go along with the DLC like that is another type of fence which regards stolen wagons or stagecoaches, and it's actually just called the wagon fence out in Emerald Ranch. It's run by this guy Seamus, who's holding the doors. You can see there. It's actually cool if you go to Emerald Ranch in online. You actually see he does run the fence out in Emerald Ranch, so you can see him in online as well, which is pretty cool. But essentially, you can deliver the a stolen wagon to this wagon fence, and you get the prices, or the amounts you get also vary a little bit. You'll see here I get $25 for this wagon, and then I'm going to show you again. I got $40 for the other wagon that I delivered, and I was pretty much selling these back to back, so it doesn't seem like there's a timer on these as well. So it's definitely interesting, but I definitely could see this also being, added into a DLC, like, such as like with the horse fence operation the Davies brothers run. These are somewhat related, so I definitely could see these being added in the same update. So the discussion at this point pretty much comes down to if Rockstar were to add these two aspects of the Red Dead story to Red Dead Online, the horse fence as well as the wagon fence, how would they work? Now, you must take into consideration one main thing is definitely the economy is not the same in the story as it is in Red Dead Online. I was even just going through the catalog a little bit ago. Things on average are a lot more expensive in story than they are in Red Dead Online. So, you have to take that into consideration. Given that, likely the amounts we'd be getting for, through the horse fence, if that were to be an online, or the wagon fence, we'd likely be getting more. However, I don't think there would just be an unlimited timer. I definitely can't see Rockstar doing that, even with the other roles that we have in online, like the trader role, the moonshiner role. We have to wait for our supplies to be produced. And this obviously isn't the first time we see this, which I'll touch on in a second, but I definitely don't think it'll be unlimited, where you can sell all the time, back to back to back, but I definitely think that we will be getting more overall. I think what this most compares to, if we were to compare it to a GTA Online business, and I say GTA Online because obviously RockstarGames, the game developers, are the same. They created both Red Dead Redemption 2 as well as Red Dead Online and GTA 5 and GTA Online. So there's obviously there are a lot of similarities that we already see between, I would say, the online worlds. I would say this most is comparable to the import-export business into GTA Online. That's what I can see these two fences being run most like that business, considering that it could be run in a sense where maybe you're stealing a certain horse or a certain set of horses, or like collections like you have in the import-export. Where obviously with import-export you're stealing high-valued luxury vehicles, or even like having a collection of them and selling them for a higher profit. And then depending on how many cars you're selling, you're going to have a timer. I think it could work very similar with that in Red Dead, where if you're selling maybe multiple horses, if you can do that, you have a larger or a greater timer. So I definitely could see that, and likely that would go probably the same for the wagons. Again, these are these are valued for the transportation of the time period that we're in. So I think that's very similar to the import-export business, and I could definitely seeing it being most like that. or potentially being most like that. And I definitely think this would be in the form that this update with these two fence aspects, if they were added online, would be in the form of a role, since Rockstar seems to be taking the role route, or they've talked about multiple articles how they want to expand on the roles and continue the roles. So I definitely think that these would most likely be added in in a role form in a future update. But I'd love to hear what you guys think and sort of what your take is on these aspects or these fences potentially being added into online and how you think they would work. But in any case, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it very interesting. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. And as always, have a great day.